Morning, everyone. Welcome to Digital Cafe. If this is your first attempt to join us, then that's fantastic. My name's Andrew Mills, and I just really want to I think we've got about 20 odd people booked on. There's about 10 of us so far. So I want to give a little bit more time for a few more people to come along. So in doing so, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, where we're coming from, what this is all about. And also I believe that Rick is on the call with us at the moment.
Not quite. He's nearly here though. He's just doing his makeup.
So okay, so you're not Rick. You're not Rick. Then who are you then, Ben?
Who am I? I am not Rick, and I'm not sure who it would be worse for if you called me Rick. Whether that'd be worse for him or myself.
Worse for you, because I would punish you.
He's here. He's done his makeup. Here you go.
Right. Okay. So if I stop my screen share and then I'll hand across. So as at the moment we've got Rick on the line. So I'd just like to read a few names. So Elise, Teresa, Nicola, Brat, and then we've got Wayne, Sharon, Helen, and others. Really want to say thank you for coming. It really is a great pleasure to have you. So I said this morning we are going to go through the 5 fundamentals of social media. So do you want to say good morning, Rick?
Good morning, and thank you very much for signing up, wanting to even begin to listen to me rant on about the importance of this digital space, especially right now. Look, we, throughout the COVID period, managed to grow our business by 610%. It's not a brag, it's not a boast, it's just because what we did was we had a mission in mind, a process, we followed it, and it works, and we want to tell everybody about it just so that they can achieve the same, really. That's what we're here for today.
Excellent. So Rick, I'll come back to you in a bit and we'll ask you, well, introduce you properly and obviously a little bit about our history thing. I'll share my screen at this point and just go through a few housekeeping things. So firstly, who am I? I'm Andrew Mills. I'm involved in running Digital Cafe. I'm also involved in a thing called the Email Company, also involved in a thing called Cyber Division, and also Data Mills that people may know of from that point of view. What's Digital Cafe about? Well, Digital Cafe is about education, and hence that's why Rick being here to hopefully educate us around the fundamentals of social media. The idea is we've normally done that in a face-to-face environment. We have got a social media thing going. It's not that good, hence we need Rick to come and remind us what we need to do. Likewise, we've got a website which has got a few of the past things on, and also we've got a YouTube channel. So back in October, we recorded our first online big event, as I keep calling these, and that's on our YouTube channel. So again, just Digital Cafe Network. My computer crashed earlier, so all the slide changes I made have all been lost. So on those grounds, it has the wrong things in here. Technology for you. But in doing so, I said we've got a website, and I've just realised there's more people waiting to come in, so I shall just let Lee in. So on the back of that, we also have, it's a great place to go and subscribe because there's other videos on there that may be helpful as well as being in the live event. So future events coming up. If you just go into Google, search for Digital Cafe Network, you'll see that we've got one on, well, this was, again, I updated this morning, it's all gone. But we've got one next time round on basically solving people's email problems. That's the upshot of it. So anything to do with email, bring your questions and we'll be involved in that. And in doing so, this time last year, we did an event called Showcase Attercliffe. We had 100 odd people down in Attercliffe all come together. It was like a little trade thing. Rick's been involved with this. So Rick, apologies, you're not Claire. I did change this.
Absolutely fine.
And normally I like to talk about cybersecurity and why it's important and all the things you need to be bothered about. But it's one of those things, we're all aware that crime's on the increase. We have to be careful. And in doing so, you've got to make sure that you take care of yourself on the net. And in doing so, if you need any help, that's what we're here for. Let's just have a nice background. So Rick, do you want me to pass you the presentation role? I want to go over to your side of things.
No worries. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to ask people to do is during the presentation, we've got a slightly different system here. In the top right-hand corner of your Zoom window, you have a view button. If you can click on that for me, guys, please. and click speaker view. And what I'd like you to do is just mute your mics so that it's my slides that you see and it's me. It's not that I'm precious about that. It is just really important and valuable information that I want you to receive. So for your best experience, please, would you do that for me? Fantastic. I can see that you've done that. Excellent. Look, I'm going to get straight into it. I've got a lot of information to get through. Whether you choose to love it or hate it, we just had it mirrors societal shifts, does all this social media stuff. And there's a lot of people out there that bash it. There's a lot of people out there that love it. There's a lot of people sit in that gray area. But wherever you sit, you have to admit that what it's given us is a real chance to communicate with whomever we want to, whenever we want to. I've always had this kind of entrepreneurial desire since about 9 years old. Okay. Now, going up in the ranks and understanding how business is run and how you should run it, I've understood that you have to communicate a message to be heard to get customers in. You can't just stick your finger in the air, open your doors, and hopefully they walk in. Now, when I first started 24 years ago, we didn't have computers, we didn't have the internet, nothing like that. So I'm much like a lot of people out there. And my rhetoric ought to be at 45 years old. That social stuff goes right over my head. It doesn't. I chose to embrace it. And I chose, my personal choice was to choose to understand it inside out. But when I started 24 years ago, I had TV, I had radio, I had press, I had everything that I could easily communicate with, but it cost money. With these social platforms, in large, what I'm going to talk to you about is all the free stuff, the stuff that you could do day to day that costs absolutely no money and gets you heard. It is the attention that we're after right now of somebody else that might need to come and tap on our door and buy a product from us. Now, I'm going to utilize this chat box here, guys. So I want you to engage in some way as well. What I'd like you to do is indicate to me, are any of you guys on these platforms personally with a Y or an N, a Y for yes or an N for no? Just tap in that chat box, please. Yep. Fantastic. People are on the platforms personally. What about this? Do you recognize this? As you wake in the morning, you check out your emails, your news feeds, your blog articles, maybe some press, some news that's going on. Please indicate with a yes. Some Andrew, no. Yes. Yes. In the main, 90% of the people out there saying yes. What about before you go to bed at night? You check the news feeds, find out, have a bit of a catch up, what's going off. What about on the toilet? Anybody check what's going off on the toilet? Yes, sorry, yes, Ben. You don't have to apologize, mate. That's entirely up to you. Look, what I want to indicate is that at any point, people are checking these timelines and news feeds. You know you're doing it yourself. And 80 to 90% of the people watching this webinar are engaging in some way throughout this by consuming this information. So you can ask yourself, why isn't it working? Why isn't all this social stuff working for you? Because if that's what's happening, if you're doing it, it's very easy and simple to assume that others are doing it as well. Now, it's very, very important that you get that. What I want you to understand, first of all, before we move on to social, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, that it's not these platforms that making this want, this need, the desire for information work. It is your mobile phone. It is this thing that wakes us up in the morning. It is this thing that delivers the content, the information, the help, the support, and the advice that we so much crave before we even make a tea, have a pee, get dressed in the morning. Before we even get out of bed, we have to consume because this is so available to us. That means it's also available to your potential customers as well. They're doing much the same thing. So if you understand that the mobile phone is really important to the communication, then you'll understand just how powerful social media really is. 84% of web traffic is received via the mobile phone. This is our own analytics from all the customers that we've got, of which there are hundreds. 84% of the web traffic that they receive currently is being sort of consumed on this mobile device. So you've got to make sure that your website is mobile optimized. So understanding this digital space is really what makes it work. It isn't just only understanding Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. It's understanding that your website has to load in less than 2.4 seconds. Otherwise, what happens is the algorithms get in the way and they assume that it's a poor user experience and suppress you on the algorithm. This is why you'll see that a lot of URLs are copied and pasted in the comments below. Anybody seen that kind of thing? Indicate with a yes or a no. That comments always receive that URL. And that's purely because they've got a poor performing website and they don't want to be suppressed on that algorithm. 92% of the social activity that we're consuming right now is consumed via the mobile phone. So please make sure that your content is simple, easy to consume within that 3-second period. And that way you have a better opportunity of being spotted. Now, we'll talk about how a status update is consumed and laid out in a short while, but you've got to imagine you only get 3 seconds to make an impression. So your image, your video is going to be clean, simple, bright, and bold with a little bit of branding on there. And that way people stop on that image and then maybe consume the rest of the status. In the chat box below, please indicate to me just how much screen time you spend. Your phones will tell you on a weekly basis just how much screen time you spend. If you're on an Apple iPhone, you can just swipe to the right and it'll tell you just how much screen time you're spending right now. Anybody know? Just give me an indication just how much screen time you're spending. 2 hours on the mobile, Andrew. 4.5, Ben. Well done. Thank you very much for admitting. What do you do in the day, mate? I really don't know. 1 hour so far, already 1 hour, 7 hours on the laptop. Listen, the average time that people spend on their mobile devices is 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. It's a long time. So if somebody's got their phone glued to their hand for 4 hours a day, if I can tell you, you can send a push notification directly as somebody does on a regular basis here to me. I can plug my phone into the system actually. On a regular basis to me. Let's have a look. So all this stuff is gets sent to me every single day. Every single day do I get these push notifications all the time. So if you can be doing the same thing, not annoying people, but delivering service and value, why wouldn't you start to see some of the results? It's just how does that happen? What are the good positive habits that we have to do and perform day to day that make those baby footsteps to success actually happens? 82% of buyers say they trust a company more if they're active on social media. That is because they can get hold of you. Indicate in the chat who ignores a mobile number that they don't recognize. I do all the time. If I don't recognize a number, I won't answer it. I'll wait for the message to come in. And that way, it makes it a little bit easier for me to respond. These people might be after money. They might be after, jobs. It might be a referral for the next biggest thing that you could sort of have the opportunity to deliver or receive. But again, if we receive a notification on LinkedIn, we at least read the first paragraph. Generally, they're a sales pitch. These are people getting LinkedIn completely wrong. 93% of small businesses say that it is an effective marketing tool, and it just simply is. Social media actually swallows up more than a quarter of the time that we currently spend online. But this scares me, if I'm honest with you. The digital skills gap within business is massive. In fact, it's currently costing the UK economy 63 billion a year in lost GDP. Now, I don't understand that too much, and I'm going to make it my sort of mission this year to understand what all this chat means. But I liken it to something like this. This is my sort of explanation. I go to a supermarket with a list of items, 3 items on that list. For me, that is Google search. I know exactly what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go to those aisles and search for them. Whereas social works slightly differently. Because it's on the internet, people assume it's a bit Google-esque. It is not. Social is a discovery tool. So it's like walking down the aisles and noticing new products on the shelves, bright colors enticing me into buying this new product, a special limited time offer that has me picking it up and putting it in the trolley, so that when I get to the end of my shopping experience, I've actually spent 3 or 4 times more than I should have done because my list only has 3 items. And again, social is just that discovery tool, and that's what we've got to try and understand and get to grips with. But what I've noticed is that when we audit people's timelines and news feeds, all they do is broadcast post after post after post because they assume they're doing social. What they're not doing is choosing to entertain, educate, and inspire people. People are using these platforms to engage with family and friends and brands that they know, love, and trust, not to find out or not to be sold to. You have to deliver content in a way that has people thinking, actually, I need these people in my life, because if they can help me do this, then it's going to be so much more valuable to my life. I'm in, I'm bought, I'm sold. And that's how you make social media work. Now, what we've created is a workbook for people to use, okay? If you want to take this name down, in fact, Ben, if you put it in the chat for me, mate, your email address, ben@BeMoreSocial.co.uk. Please email Ben. It's already in there, but I'll do it again. Is it? And he will send you the workbook. Now, the workbook looks a little bit something like this. We have something called the 5 fundamentals. And it, in essence, asks varied questions from you. So you can fill these out so that they help you remember these pointers that helps you on your way to making sure that your social media is successful. So please do that. Get Ben to send you this workbook, and he'll help you and support you in the right way too. So with that in mind, I'm going to take you through the 5 fundamentals. Now, this has been developed over the 14 years I've been in social, okay? I've been in it since it started, and I've seen every algorithmic shift, every profile change, every pattern shift as well in social. So I understand it pretty much more than most. Fundamental number 1 is you have to outline your goals. That's what made us grow by 610%. We knew exactly what we wanted. We wanted somebody else's customers right in our hands. So we had to go out there and forge relationships and partnerships to make it happen, okay? And this process here is what we applied to make sure that we stuck to it. But we had a goal in mind. By the time we got at the other end of this COVID debacle, what we wanted to have is hundreds of clients on the system, not just 50 or 60, hundreds of clients. Even though we'd lost 80% of our incumbent client base, we was confident that if we followed this kind of pattern, we would have hundreds of clients on the system. And that we did. I think we ended up at 370 some odd. What was it, Ben? How many? 372 clients by the time we got to the end of this whole COVID stuff. And this is kind of how we did it, to be honest with you. So first of all, you must outline your goals, okay? If you don't know where you're going, then any road will get you there. And that's kind of like a contradiction in itself. That was me 2 or 3 years. That was me when Andrew met me. I had all this energy and all this enthusiasm, but I left a lot of money on the table because I didn't know what to do next. All I did was I was just going straight ahead and leaving so much stuff behind me because I was just this whirlwind. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a structure. Having all your objectives and your goals outlined gives you the opportunity to breathe some kind of life into any marketing plan moving forward. Let's say you want 100 clients on by the end of the year. Now you know how to approach this. Now you can be bold, clear, and kind of precise and have a strategic approach to achieving those goals. LinkedIn will allow you to connect with 100 people or more every single month. If you were to reach out to just 5 people a day on LinkedIn, that will give you 100 people across the month. If you're any good at what you're doing, you should at least have 15 people to speak to at the very least, with the opportunity to convert that into 8 and 9 clients every single month. We do that very, very simply and very, very easily as a sort of matter of course. Every now and again, if we get a bit low, a little bit, the bottom of the barrel is going a little bit dry, we'll jump onto LinkedIn and we'll have a flurry. Fundamental number 2 is develop your value proposition. You have to post with purpose or don't post at all. Okay, this is going to help with content fatigue. This is going to help with keeping people interested in what you've got to say. It is so important. Your value proposition tells your ideal customer why they should follow, engage, and ultimately buy from you. Try and identify your tone of voice. This is really important. These social platforms have machine learning switched on all the time. So what I want you to understand is that they're reading your posts, they're reading the words that you're using, they're scanning the imagery that you're using. So try to be consistent with that tone of voice. If you're going to describe something as superb or fabulous, it should always be that way. It shouldn't be great or ace, because it's going to try and find people that suit you. It'll identify people that sound like you, speak like you. So again, you will have a better opportunity and a better chance of making sure that this working relationship actually works. To do that, you have to identify who you are. Are you an expert, a utility, a friend, or a guru? We go out as that friendly guru. There's no such thing as an expert in social because it changes that often. But there is that friendly guru that is obsessed with social so much so that we'll look into it all the time. Your value proposition is designed to build brand recognition and establish brand equity. I'm not this believer that you should be different on LinkedIn as you are on Facebook, as you are on Instagram. You can post a different type, but your tone of voice should always remain the same. Otherwise, you don't have brand equity. People like me for me. They don't necessarily like me for the way I sound, maybe, because I'm not a different person on any of these platforms. I am who I am. And I will not change that perspective for any of the platforms, because what I don't want to do is have those really awkward moments where I've not got that opportunity to work with a person because they don't like the fact that I might say shit every now and again. Simply put, try and find your thing. What is it that you're going to entertain, educate, and inspire people with? This is really, really important thing. There is a formula to make all of this social media stuff or this digital stuff actually work, because it isn't just about social. It's about this whole mix of things that you put together that make it work, that made us grow this 610%. And it's a mix of both long form and short form content that will deliver you the success. Look at this webinar. We're here for an hour together. This is long form educative broadcast that's helping you understand. It's the social media post that got you here in the first place. It isn't the social media post that got you sold on social. It will be this webinar, the long form broadcast that's got you sold on it if I do a good job. Landing pages, white papers, webinars, all these different things are a form of long form content. We have multiple landing pages hidden in the back end of our website, each with multiple webinars housed and workbooks and downloadable broadcasts, educating people just how knowledgeable we are on social and hopefully building trust in people enough to buy. There are blog articles that are feeding people on a fortnightly basis, forcing people to understand, or not forcing, that's the wrong word, but trying to solidify our thought leadership in this industry so that people know and can trust us and they've got this kind of useful place to go. So again, building that trust so that people may buy. We put out a lot of videos. We have, much like yourself, Andrew, a YouTube channel where we put videos out on a regular basis so that they can, again, just for their own peace of mind, go and consume and watch those longer form broadcasts. And everything that we spoke about today, everything we spoke about today is absolutely free. You don't really have to pay for Zoom unless you can sort of shut me up within 40 minutes and you can have that free aspect there as well. So there's all of this stuff that we're talking about costs you nothing. And of course, you can have the opportunity to create podcasts. Anybody listen to a podcast? If so, what is it that you listen to? Share with us so we can share with other people as well. But again, creating your own podcast that gets delivered on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, iPodcasts, again, is all absolutely free with this app here, anchor.fm. Fundamental number 3 is social proof or inbound marketing. This is the stuff that you post on your timelines and news feeds on a daily basis. What is content? People keep asking me. So then, Rick, all right then, so you're telling me that it's a mix of all sorts. Your short form content is what social media is. It's these smaller 30-second videos, these 90-word or 90-character status updates with the bright, bold picture. That is all it does is draw attention and is clickbait. We don't like that word right now. However, it is that kind of hook that brings people in, that drives traffic to the long form content that educates people, that turns them into a purchase. Consistency with this short form is absolutely key, aka predictability. If we're predictable in the way in which we're broadcasting content, the algorithm can pick up on that predictability and then try and find a rhythm. Try and find when our audience is online. Try and find out when, you know, we're ready to drop that content or that piece of information so that it can identify the right people. That is why, again, going back to what Andrew spoke about previously, your inbound should have a content calendar. Much like a magazine has features, so too should your broadcast. And that looks a little something like this. Motivate Monday, Tip Tuesday, Wisdom Wednesday, Thought for Thursday, feature Friday, Saturday work-life balance, or a Sunday listen and read. That way you can identify content quicker. The social platforms can pick up on some kind of predictability, this feature that happens every day, and the right kind of audience can pick up on what kind of broadcast or what kind of content that they want to consume. Because you have to assume that people are at a different buyer mindset. You should be broadcasting 3 different types of buyer mindset. Buyer mindset number 1 is these people that know nothing about you. They have no clue who you are. So you should be dropping the awareness broadcast. Did you know that 87% of those that use LinkedIn are currently outperforming their colleagues? No, I didn't. That's a great piece of information. Thank you very much. So the next post should be the consideration broadcast. And that sounds a little something like, do you want to know how to be part of the mix and also start finding and identifying leads? Click this link to find out more. Bit more of an ask there. So you got the awareness, you got another broadcast. I'm now in the mindset potentially to take it serious, or potentially willing to listen to a little bit more. That's going to take me to a webinar all about LinkedIn to consume that long form content that's going to build that trust. And then of course, what you then should be sending out is the conversion post, a limited time offer. If you buy now, you get it for a discounted price. Buy now, there's only a few spaces available in the curriculum that we've got going on right now. All these different posts knock people down the funnel and have them converting. And this is the same playbook that we rolled throughout the first 4 months of COVID that helped our business get to where it is. What also helped is being recognized. You know, again, by absolutely no accident, we delivered a webinar to close to 180,000 people, or potentially 180,000 people for the FSB nationally. So branding was really, really important for us as well. And, you know, anybody heard of Canva? You could use Canva for absolutely nothing, for free. You have to be recognized. My elements, these arrows, you know, all these different logos in this place here. Again, very easy and simple to identify. My fonts are always the same that we use. My yellow color is strongly placed inside that space there. You can use Canva for free. It doesn't have to cost you anything. And all you need to do is set up a simple template. What some people do is they look to this left-hand side and are often magpied, thinking, oh, that's a nice template. I feel like that one today. I'm going to use that. Well, unfortunately, you're not being recognized in the news feeds because we buy with our eyes. We recognize a color or a logo or something that has us pulled into a brand and an opportunity. So please make sure you're not magpied by that left-hand side and you've created your templates that are consistently delivering your information. What I've also realized is that every business has an ebb and a flow or a season. Try and identify what that is and stick to it. Don't try and fall outside that season. It's very, very important that you identify and you stick to it. And with that in mind, what we've done is we have created what we call the pillar process. Content fatigue is a real issue. Seeing the same stuff over and over again is going to make people blind to your content. Struggling to know what to post as well is a big issue. Lots of people say, well, I only do this one thing. I really don't know what to post or what else to post. Well, what we're suggesting to people is that they choose a theme for every single month. Our theme for January was all about mindset, having the right mindset for success. So when my guys came to me and said, Rick, I've got 4 Tuesdays in January. Give me 4 tips on mindset, please. It was really easy for me to identify. You've got your theme for the month and you've got your feature for each and every single day. So it becomes a lot easier to create content. And I always say, if content is easy to identify, then it's easy to create, okay? Make your life as easy as it can be. Time is always an issue. People say to me, Rick, I just haven't got the time. You want me to write blog articles, webinars, this, that, and the other. Rick, I just simply haven't got the time. Nor have I got the ideas. Am I creative enough? What I'm saying to you is if you're actually prepared and you can sort of do a bit of forward thinking and planning in the first instance, it becomes a lot easier. This is why your long form content should be the first thing that you consider. Because if you're clever and you're smart and you follow the framework, you follow the formula, what it will give you is it will actually give you the content for your broadcast day to day. Take a podcast, for example. If you were to, I don't know, we did a podcast with a company in January that were what did they do now? They was a recruitment company. They got very popular LinkedIn account. And because the recruitment company took such a hit throughout COVID, obviously, what they chose to do is they chose to pivot and become a media company instead. They got a lot of shine on LinkedIn. They just basically told other recruitment, because they chose a niche, recruitment companies, how to do it. So what was the mindset? How did you achieve that? What made you do all those things? These were the questions that we asked people. And what we're able to do was break that podcast down into multiple posts. It was the podcast that gave us the hints, the tips, the advice, the bits of inspiration when we listen to it again for our Tip Tuesdays, Motivational Mondays, our Thought for Thursday broadcast, because within every podcast, within every article or long form piece of content, you're able to extract those motivational, educational, valuable tips and information from that broadcast initially. Because we have to build up a reputation on social. People they feel they know you. It's quite strange, actually. I put the Just Ask Rick thing out on a Thursday. We entered the Chamber Awards. It was quite funny, actually. We entered the Chamber Awards in Doncaster, and when we'd kind of been nominated for one, and I had my team there, and we was in front of the camera, and the guy says, "Rick, there's no need to introduce yourself. I've seen you enough all over social." But that's a good thing. I got a sense of pride with that. I didn't have to introduce myself because my social broadcast did it all for me, to be honest with you. And I just think it's this process of know, like, and trust. My hope is that even though I'm reasonably on social, I don't post a lot. There's not a lot of video content out there of me. It's just good quality content, and it resonates, and people remember the fact that it's out there. So that's what I want people to understand, is that a degree of consistency is key. If you can't attain every day, 7 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday maybe, spread it out across the week, but make sure it's consistent. The trouble is, it takes 5 to 7 impressions for people to begin to recognize your brand in the first place. But it probably takes even less for people to forget you, because these algorithms are harsh and aggressive. And what they will do is they will very quickly forget about you if you haven't got that degree of consistency. Nobody buys on impulse, unless you're me. I'm one of the 3%. I think, oh, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to buy. But nobody buys on impulse. It's just not what happens now. People like to do their research, and where they do that research is all on these platforms. Google, they do a simple Google search. They'll look at Trustpilot, Google reviews. They read a blog article or two, especially if you're driving traffic to those. They'll certainly look on your timelines and news feeds on all of the platforms. There's enough spaces for someone to do a degree of research about you on. If you're not there, for me, you're just not in the mix. If you're not in this space and nobody can make themselves comfortable about buying your product and service, then unfortunately, you're not going to get that opportunity, or that convert is going to be a little bit harder. You're going to have to physically get involved and do a lot of talking and a lot of convincing to make it happen, versus just being diligent and just forming a good and positive habit day to day, making sure that people have somewhere to go and catch up with a little bit of you. Fundamental number 4 is outbound. You can be in complete control of who sees your content. Did you know? This is what's called social listening. Now, social listening is the monitoring of your brand's social media channels for any customer feedback and direct mentions of your brand. Stop right there. That's the free stuff. If you were to mention a brand or a named somebody, that other brand or somebody would get a notification. And out of respect, they should respond. That's the free stuff. And that for me is not social listening, but social monitoring. Social listening gets a little bit cleverer. Or discussions regarding specific keywords, topics, competitors, or industries. You can use all the platforms and search for keywords and engage directly in conversations where people might need your help and support. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I've used all of these. Facebook has groups. You can join interest groups, like-minded groups, and engage day to day inside that space. I'm not suggesting posting because there's a specific rule for each of these groups. Some like it, some don't, okay? So don't take this wrong. Don't get kicked out of the groups and come and blame me. What I'm suggesting that you do is you listen and you become of service. This group, the 4 networking community, now has actually 29,000 members. Inside every group or on every group is a search bar, okay? These are old slides, it's changed slightly. But this search bar here is where you can search for a keyword. I use the keyword new to this group. That's a search string, or social media, or Facebook, or LinkedIn. And I'm constantly in 10 groups a day, every day, engaging and being of service to those people asking questions on how to do something on Facebook, or new to this group. Hi, everybody, I want to introduce myself. So I then introduce myself with something of service. And that something of service is my 5 fundamental blog article or webinar. Hi, you've just been asking a question on how to use social. Listen, this is a very busy search string. And that's what happens is 40 or 50 or more people, I can help you with that. I can help you with that, begging for work all the time. My approach is not to beg. My approach in the first instance is to be of service and said, listen, I understand that this is a very, very busy search string. What I would urge you to do is take a look at this article. I hope it helps. And it is just this presentation, either recorded or in written form. Nice and easy, simple approach and of service. They click on the link, they go to my website, they consume that information. The beauty is that my website is optimized for success. I have there a LinkedIn tag or a Facebook pixel, and I'll explain what one of those is in a bit. But what they do is they capture people's data so that I can remarket to them in the future. Twitter has search. Ben, would you put TweetDeck in the chat for me? Tweetdeck.twitter.com is what I use for all my Twitter searches. And I'm engaging inside those spaces on a regular basis, doing much the same thing. But with Twitter, what I'm able to do is geolocate those searches. And this is how we sort of comfortably moved over to London and opened an office down there. LinkedIn has searches. Now, for us to make this thing work, we identified that we needed partners. Now, previous to COVID, we worked with the NatWest, and now we represent NatWest nationally and the FSB and all those kind of other big partners, which really has had a positive shift to our business. But the way in which we did that was very, very purposefully strategic. What I noticed is that when I took a business card from the person at NatWest that allowed me to deliver a local webinar, which was nice, or a workshop, which was okay, I noticed that their business card had business growth enabler on. What I also wanted to do was deliver workshops across the country for other business growth enablers. And I did a search for such things. So business growth enablers, I changed the company to NatWest. So it went from, there's 22,000 business growth enablers in the world to just 49 business growth enablers that work for NatWest. So instead of sending 22,000 messages, I sent 49. And they simply read like this: hi, I've just delivered a workshop for Paula down in Doncaster. She absolutely loved it, as did her clients. I'd like to do the same for you. If you don't believe me, go and ask Paula. I'm sure she'll send you a good reference. We then did webinars or workshops for 2/3 of the business growth enablers and became on the radar of the NatWest nationally, so much so that they approached us to deliver their entrepreneur hubs in 5 destinations across the country. As soon as COVID opens up, I'm sure we'll be back on that thing again. The same thing happened for the FSB. We was lucky enough to have started that approach before COVID, so that when I rang the FSB up nationally and said, listen, let's get this thing on the way. Let's talk to the 180,000 members around the country about social and what they should be doing. They knew who BeMoreSocial was. But we did that in a very, very strategic manner and purposefully so that they knew about us. Instagram has the discovery button down here where the magnifying glass is. You can search my favorite searches for places. Okay. So if you are, I don't know, a beauticians, for example, looking to get set up and established and get your client base back in, when COVID opens up and the world opens up and we can start playing again, I would do searches for my favorite restaurant, and I would engage with people that like to go out and look fancy and say, listen, I can't wait for Relish Bar and Grill to go up. It's one of my favorite places. You look fab in this pic, by the way. And all these is just you handing out digital business cards across all the 4 major platforms and being heard. You could easily drive anywhere between 300 and 600 people back to our website, cookieing them so that you can remarket to them in the future. Very, very sensible approach and very, very easy and simple to do. All you need to do is for just 30 minutes to an hour a day is create a daily positive habit. If you're having a cup of tea, all you've got is the 4 windows already open up on your computer, and just skip through the tabs. If there's nothing to engage with, then don't engage. Don't expect it's going to be the savior, but every now and again, there's a little bit of gold in all of these sort of tabs that you open up, especially if you've got 4 cracks at the whip. And I'm just urging people just to give it a go. We're having such amazing results right now with some of the clients that we've got on board because they're beginning to listen. They're beginning to see the fruits of their labor, and it is genuinely works. Without this whole mix, without the formula working together, you having a strategy, you posting consistently across the board and actively engaging on a regular basis, this formula is what the algorithms require and insist on. And then all of a sudden it starts to click together and you start to get the reach and the awareness that you deserve. Fundamental number 5 is simply this: stay focused on what makes the biggest impact. You will see at the front end what makes the biggest impact. You will see the likes, the comments, the shares, the amount of reach that you receive, even if you don't receive any engagement moving forward. You'll see that firsthand. So don't worry about mixing it up a little bit. Don't try and change stuff. Take a look at the numbers, write them down physically. We've got that in the 5 fundamental workbook, actually. There's an area for the numbers, I think. Let me get to it. Yeah, so you've got an area for the numbers. All you need to do is print that page out repeatedly, day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and write down what reach you get from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and any of the other platforms, and just have a simple grasp of your numbers so that you can then start to identify patterns really, really easily and simply to do. Because what I want people to start understanding is that it isn't the social platforms that's in control of who sees your content, it's you. There is an art, a science, and a psychology behind all of this. The art is what grabs people's attention. It is the art that you are in control of. It then feeds into the science. If somebody stops their thumb from scrolling up on a particular status update, you've done a great job, because it indicates to the algorithm or the science of the platform that you're interested. There you go. We've stopped for 3 seconds or more to consume this information. So now you're interested. What then happens is they go to the status update, which is the psychology. If you understand your audience, that so much so that they take you up on that call to action, a like, a comment, a share, or a click through to a link, you again have managed to put forth your value proposition in the right way. That too then feeds into the science. And the algorithms and the platforms have an understanding about what you want. You have to think about how you're perceived and what message that you're delivering for this social stuff to begin to work. And finally, fundamental number 6, I call it a bonus round because I can't think of anything that rhymes with 6. So the 5 fundamental things sounds a little bit cooler. Data capture and remarketing is important. Social media remarketing targets users that have visited your website or engaged with your page. The way that they grade this stuff or capture these website visitors, Facebook particularly, is with a pixel. If you're using Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Magento, Shopify, it's really easy to install. It's not difficult at all because Facebook partners with all these different brands and made it very, very easy to do. LinkedIn has the tag. So again, making sure that you're optimized, even if you're not want to spend any money right now, it's important to collect the data. Very, very important. All the platforms having an engaged with page audience. What we find is that an average page of just 300 has at least 900 or more people that have actually watched a video, liked a post, engaged in some way with a little bit of dwell time. You can collect that information and you can remarket to these people in the future. But where it does get a little bit more exciting is when you know you can start creating what's called a lookalike audience. If you've listened and you choose the social listening aspect of your broadcast, you are in control of driving traffic to long form content and therefore collecting people's cookies or data along the way. That way, you can then choose your website audience to create a lookalike audience from. And this is where LinkedIn and Facebook look at the audience that you've gathered, and they'll identify websites that these people have visited, likes and interest categories that they've got on their own pages, and find other people around the country or world that are just like them. So you have a very, very lukewarm opportunity to introduce your business to a brand new audience without the effort of social listening or outreach. And then be going through that whole process of creating a reach advert, engaging with people, driving them to the website, and then remarketing to an interested party. Look, the way people genuinely consume a status is simply this. In the first instance, they will look at the image. You are in control of that. Secondly, they will consume the words that you have put in your status update. And third of all, which surprised me the most, they will look to see if they recognize the brand. This was after a heat map test was done. And only then will they recognize the brand, would they take you up on your call to action. So all of this stuff you're in control of, not Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn, all of that stuff that you are in control of. And what we also find, quite interestingly enough, is that if you're looking for engagement, it's not going to come from a brand new customer that knows nothing about you. Where it is going to come is from an incumbent customer that absolutely loves you. So don't forget to put out that testimonial broadcast or that question that is asking your audience to engage. That way, your algorithms will be placated and you've got such a rich broadcast that everybody is consuming right now. Your Twitchers looking to engage, looking to sort of buy from you are not going to engage, but your incumbent audience are the ones likely to. Look, the reality is that 82% of your prospects can be reached through social media. Social media advocates outsell 78% of their peers, and 73% of those that use it exceed quota when using it. It's a very, very, very powerful tool, and the right side of that 100% for me. It's not about which strategy you pick, it's about sticking to one. Don't lose your bottle, don't lose your cool. I could have done that right at the beginning when we lost 80% of our clients. I could have been so insecure about my path, and after a week or so, I could have been out, and I chose not to, all right? Listen, that's it from me. I hope that's been of service. Thank you very much. Remember, if you want the workbook, email ben@bemoresocial.co.uk. And for everybody's sake as well, it's a lot of information to consume or take in. We are offering a free review, and it's an opportunity for you to sit with Ben and have him have a look over your socials and just offer a few pointers and maybe a little bit of direction too. Any questions? How do I do that then?
Well, thank you there, Rick. That's been really helpful. There's definitely things I've sort of picked up on a little bit. I was quite interested in what you were talking about in the whole cascading of content, you know, like recording it, taking a transcript, lifting bits out, producing statements from there, and obviously, as you said, stuff that you're in control of, so long form into short form. Also, I think the bit you really touched on, I think, was knowing where you're going with the goal side.
Yes, it's so important. I mean, like once you know your goals, you can actually know which platform you can choose to help you out. Like we lean on LinkedIn and Facebook groups a lot because we know that we want to hit. Well, I know that Ben's got to speak to 50 people a month for us to get 20 customers, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. One of the other things I picked up on was obviously the branding. How important it is to have that. I think in that last slide you had where you got the 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, just picking up the branding side of things was quite important.
Yeah, I think it builds trust. You know, we do the silly videos, we do the rich videos from time to time and stuff, so it shows personality. But generally, customers, people that worry and care about their branding, often it just it breeds a little bit of trust. You know, you trust all the big brands out there to support you well. And I just think, for me, 24 years in branding has been like a major part of my understanding of social, and it's helped us massively.
Ah, is that a buzz?
Try that.
Is that any better?
That's a bit clearer. Thank you.
Oh, now we're finished. You bring that. I appreciate
It's just gone really, really bad all of a sudden.
I hope it's not affected it in any way.
No.
Quick question, Rick. Sort of content versus consistency.
Yeah.
What would you say is king?
I would say quality content is king, so long as it's consistent in the way in which you deliver it. Now, if you're putting out several posts a week, it's going to be difficult to maintain that rich value-add content. So just for me, if you can't do 7 posts a week, just stick to 3 or to 5, but make sure they're always good.
Okay. I want to open up the floor, open up to the floor. If anyone's got any other questions, are you okay to take some, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. So if people like to unmute and like to fire a question at Rick whilst he's here.
How important is video content? Should it be the director? Video and content is ridiculously important, especially on social right now. We consume so much video. You know, I think one thing that I urge people to do is just to take a note of what content that they're consuming right now. And then it's very easy and simple to assume that your audience is going to consume that content too. I prefer watching video. It's easier. I can put it on in the background and make it work for me. And that's what I insist on, a lot of video content.
Anyone else got any questions?
And should it be the director? Yes, it should.
Thanks, Teresa.
It should. I mean, look, all this rests on my shoulders, everything, in some respects. So I put myself out there in that Just Ask Rick because people feel like they can get access to me. I'm very busy. Andrew, bless you, you rung me 4 or 5 times yesterday, and I'm like, I've got to respond to Andrew, but I'm pulled from pillar to post. So I find it easier if I make myself physically available for 30 minutes every week so that people can jump on and ask me questions. And it's proven to, build my personal brand up a lot and get better speaking opportunities and speaking gigs. But what I've also found is that it's really, really helped people to trust me quicker so that my conversions come in quicker too.
Yeah. Okay, look. Anyone else got anything they want to share or bring to the table? As they say, speak now, forever hold your peace.
No problem. Listen, if anybody wants the workbook or the slides, email ben@BeMoreSocial.co.uk or share in the chat your details. Oh, there is a question, is there?
I think so, yeah. Please explain pixels.
Pixels. So the Facebook pixel is a strip of code or a plugin that you put into the back office area of any website. So that when you receive a visitor to this website, what the pixel actually does is it stores or saves the Facebook profile or the LinkedIn profile so that you can remarket to them in the future. The only way you can remarket to them is from the pixel, create an audience. And again, it sounds complicated. It really isn't.
Any other questions? Like Helen's just dropped one in the chat. If anyone else wants to drop it in the chat, if they don't want to speak out loud.
Rick?
Yes.
Should the call to action always direct people to the website?
Not always. No, it should be to message or DM or leave a comment, because what you've got to remember, the only way you're going to win this algorithm space is if you keep people on the platforms. So for me, very few calls to action should be go to the website, unless that website is the thing that finishes, it is the thing that finishes the sale. Do you know what I mean? Now, what I encourage people to do is to leave me a question. So in the awareness broadcast, you're not going to create a great deal of interaction or take anybody away from any of the social platforms to go to your website. So you, like I did with the guys here at the beginning, give me a Y or an N for any interactions. So my awareness broadcast is those algorithm boosting broadcasts. Did you know that 87% of those that use LinkedIn right now outperform their best. Leave a comment below if this is you. And people love to peacock. Yes, this is me. I find this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But what they don't realize is what they're doing is they're introducing me to their network as well. And that status update, and my reach then gets extended. So I have a very, very different call to action for very specific reasons. One might be for reach, and one might be for a convert.
Okay, there's a quick question in there. It says, what's the best and easiest way to increase followers?
Engage. Go into the groups, listen, be of service, add value. Do the same thing on LinkedIn. Remember, we're connecting with people on LinkedIn all day long to do business. So don't forget to engage, and that way people will feel compelled. They will trust you more. They will appreciate and respect you more and feel the want to go out there and follow you that little bit more and start to engage more as well.
Excellent.
We're growing people's Instagram accounts by I think like one person within 3 months, we're like at 2,000 people on Instagram. And that's purely because they had a very, very clever social listening thing that they, for 30 minutes a day, they went out and engaged and they came on in their droves.
If people want to come back and ask you more questions, Rick, you've got the sort of hashtag of, is it Just Ask Rick?
Just Ask Rick, yeah.
How do people engage with the hashtag? Do they just sort of put that in and it just puts up all of the previous events that you've done, or? Yeah,
you could. What you could do is you could type a status on any of the platforms using the hashtag. We'll search for the hashtag before we go live, and we'll answer the question. Or what time are we live today, Ben? On Just Ask Rick. We're live today at 12 o'clock. So show up on LinkedIn. Do a search for my profile in the posts area. You'll see Just Ask Rick live, and I answer any questions live. People just type them in the comments. Or on Facebook.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Again, I really want to thank you for, again, just this, the time you put in this morning, and I'm sure other people have valued that as well. As I said, I did actually find a few historical pictures. So I found one where we were at Digital Cafe. For people who don't know, with the Digital Cafe side, it normally was a face-to-face event. And it's taken a bit of time and effort to get to this stage. And as you can see, the technology didn't work quite as smoothly as I'd like. But in doing so, hopefully we will go back to, effectively, it was the old library down in Attercliffe, where, again, we've got other people that came along. Oh, I jumped to the wrong place again. Okay, here we go. So, again, just for those people who don't know about Digital Cafe, this is my attempt to educate the world in the same way as Rick, on a smaller scale. But at the same time, if you put Digital Cafe Network in Google, you'll find what's coming up. Again, we've got one on emails and about Hassle email systems next time round, which is actually myself. And off the back of that, please book on for Eventbrite. We've got the YouTube channel. So again, please go and have a look at some of the historical things. We've got one on branding. We've got one on creating a business plan. We've got one on sort of video, working at home. So there's quite a few variations on there. Again, please subscribe to it. And if you click on the little bell, when we upload something, it'll appear on there. So apart from that, thank you ever so much for everybody who's been involved this morning. And thanks for coming along. And again, this will be posted and it will be stuck up on the YouTube channel probably in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. And hopefully that will be it. So again, don't miss Rick's event at, you said, what was it again, 12 o'clock, Rick?
12 o'clock on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Excellent.